All right, we move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-3, 2-1 on the road at the Carolina Panthers 1-5, 1-4 at home. That's not right? What the hell? I think I screwed that up there. Oh, because I've got the wind in. Okay, my bad. Sorry. It was a rough day capping. I was so angry about my losses live betting last night that I was just sort of in a dark cloud all day. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, 68 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 8 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history here in this one. Here we go. We have the Panthers opening up as 10-point dogs. They're now 10.5-point dogs. This total opened up at 41. It's now at 40. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. Sports Insights has given no real line value to anybody on the board except Carolina here. They've given a bit, I'd say maybe 18%, 17% line value. 53% of the tickets are on Carolina and 48% of the cash. So the market doesn't really know what to do. 53% of tickets on the under, and they haven't given us a cash amount. This is the only game without a cash amount for the total. Buccaneers coming off that shocking 2018 loss at Pittsburgh. They're 21st in yards per play. And the Steelers secondary was so beaten up, and Brady, Godwin, and Evans couldn't do anything about it. It was just shocking. And the whole time I was like, oh, they'll get going. 4.5 yards per play against that Steelers team. Brady, 25 of 40, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Godwin caught 6 passes for 95 yards. Evans, 4 for 42. Fournette ran 21 for 63, caught 6 for 38 and a touchdown. The secondary was missing 4 of its top 5 players. And we'll go over all of that when we break down the Steelers game. And your Minkah Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt. I mean, just nuts. The defense had 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, and Cameron Brate left on a stretcher. It's a sprained neck that he has, but there's no neurological damage. Panthers coming off a 24-10 loss at the Rams. And that was another thing that made me so angry. All I have written on my notes from last week was first half under. But I didn't bet it for some reason. It makes me want to smash this computer. They are 3-17 against the spread over their last 20 games. PJ Walker, 10 of 16 for 60 yards. Jacob Eason came in as well. He went 3 of 5 for 59 yards and an interception. McCaffrey was the entire offense. He ran 13 times for 69 yards, caught 7 passes for 89 yards. The rest of the team caught 6 passes for 30 yards. 158 of Carolina's 203 total yards. That's the highest percentage of any NFL team's offense from one player since 2003. So Wilkes sends Robbie Anderson in the locker room after a shouting match with Joe Daly. You can tell the difference between certain teams that are playing well and teams that are falling apart. Robbie Anderson has a shouting match with Joe Daly, the receivers coach, and he's traded after the game. You watch Salah's players start screaming and want to fight, a coach, and he's like, I love the fight. It's just 2 teams going in 2 different directions. The defense held strong for as long as they could, but they couldn't get off the field. I mean, the offense couldn't sustain any drives. They finished with 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits, and scored the game's only TD on a Deontay Jackson pick 6. And it was the first game under Al Holcomb. And the Panthers had one of the NFL's worst rushing defenses coming in. The Rams they got 111 yards on the ground. The issue, though, Deontay Jackson hurt his ankle, and C.J. Henderson's now in concussion protocol. One of the things that happens when these teams are falling apart is when the player's in concussion protocol, there's no rush to come back. Take it away for us here, Andy. Buccaneers, Panthers.
Yeah, the offense went on the road, played indoors against a kind of a scuffling team, and they scored 3 points. They got their defensive touchdown, which was nice, but this offense scored 3 points. I will be on this under. I think it probably very similar to the Dallas game we saw in week 1, where Tampa Bay doesn't have to do much. I know everyone say like Brady has to get this offense right. You'll probably see it. Maybe even similar to the game that this Buccaneers team lost to Green Bay, where Green Bay came out, had a couple of nice drives, and just kind of let the game whittle away from there. Tampa Bay gets up like 14, 17-3, and all of a sudden there's no score in the third quarter. It's just kind of an ugly game. Carolina can't get this ball moving. It's at home. That's fine. Whatever. It's not like a big travel spot for Tampa Bay here. This Carolina defense has banged up secondary pieces. Their only good pieces are getting hurt. They traded a receiver. Eason is not an NFL quarterback. He does not have an NFL arm. This is bad news bears for basically everything about this franchise. At this point, it'd be good if they lost. Like, you want to lose games. You want to be able to draft Stroud. You want to be able, you want to go get your next quarterback. You want the number one pick, guys. So, yeah, I'm certainly not laying the points with Tampa, but it's the same thing as last week. It's like, well, this is too many points for the Rams, but they might just cover this by the ineptitude of the Carolina Panthers. And that's kind of what we had. Like, Carolina didn't deserve to get to 10 points. You go look at their total yardage was very anemic. Probably 200-ish, 203. And granted, they did have their best drive ended in an interception. They got 60 yards on a drive, and that ended in a pick. But yeah, that's on pace for somewhere in the 8 to 12 point range. So probably about what they deserved, honestly, and that's about what we're going to get this week. I don't think Tampa goes out and drops 30 on them. This is an under for me, so I will be on this under. I love a low totaled under. I want this one to be just a Tampa Bay's defensive domination. Truthfully, I want to give Pittsburgh some credit. Like, Trubisky looked kind of good at times, and he's getting benched if Pickett's healthy, which is funny. But there was a couple of really nice third down pickups by Trubisky. I think, everyone's saying Tampa's got to get this offense right. I think Bull's going to be way more mad about this defense. I think this defense absolutely shows up and shuts down what's going to be a very one-dimensional team. Just put a couple hats on McCaffrey and call it a day.
Yeah, and Pinnacle, BetCris, Bookmaker, they've all moved this to 40. But there are still 40.5s out there.
Oh, yeah.
So this will be going down to 40 soon, probably by the morning. I like your look here. I like any interest in that team total for the Panthers at 13.5 at my book.
That's awful. Anything under 14, I get awful worried about. Because you just have a bounce ball off a helmet return, and suddenly you're sweating that after the offense hasn't crossed the 50. So I'll stay away from that one. But I do like this under. And I did get a 40.5.
Under 40.5 at minus 108 for Andy. Yeah, I like all of this. DJ Big Boss in the house. Great to see you. Saturated has a question. Do you credit Pittsburgh's defense as the reason the Bucs struggled this past week?
I do. Like, they looked good. And it was crazy because they're missing their two best players, maybe two and a half, honestly. And they were all over. I mean, there was a lot of third downs that weren't just like, oh, that was a bad pass, a bad play, a bad scheme. Like, they were knocking balls down. They were making tackles. Pittsburgh's defense looked really good at times for a unit that's missing so many pieces and has been banged up already. And honestly, a team I thought that was going to regress anyway on that side of the ball. So I kind of had to upgrade Pittsburgh's defense off of how far I dropped them with the injuries.
Interesting. Well, Andy on the under 40.5 minus 108. I like the look. I'm going to move a bunch of asterisks beside it. Coin already has Washington plus 5.5, Jacksonville under 42.5, and the under 40.5 in this pocket in this one. I like that.